Let me get this
No
recording out
worries.
because last time it malfunctioned and it didn't record any of it. And I was so sad because it was my friend Rochelle who works at San Diego. So I can see it recording right now. So it's
Oh gosh.
this whole conversation, but Phil can edit that out.
Okay, cool.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to just do a quick introduction and then I'll let you go and you just tell me when to forward a slide. Okay.
Perfect.
All right. So good evening, everyone. It is just me and Annie today, so this will be just for you YouTube people eventually. But Annie Ristig is old friend. She is a laboratory animal technician, and she is here to talk about what it's like working for the university, the California University system, as a laboratory animal technician caretaker. So Annie, I'm going to pass it over to you, and you now have the floor, not the board.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate this. I'm really hoping that this opportunity will show people perhaps a different side than what most people think of what a career in laboratory animal medicine entails. I work with the Department of ULAR, which is University Laboratory Animal Resources at the University of California at Irvine. I started my career here in 1992. Prior to that, I started out as a kennel assistant back in, I'm afraid to date myself, 1984. And it was just a kind of a freak opportunity that a friend of mine had worked for a local animal hospital. And they had said, well, we're hiring somebody part-time. And I was kind of looking for something different. So I said, what the heck, go ahead. So I went ahead and applied. And for there, I worked for about 3 months just doing kennel work. After that, the veterinarian there had kind of taken me under his wing. And about 6 months after I started, he had me doing a lot more of the animal technician stuff. And he personally trained me on a lot of things. He would basically, like, as far as parasitology, things like that, he and I would just sit and train. So it was a fantastic opportunity. I learned a lot, but I sought more. I wanted something different. In 1987, I then decided to take a job opportunity working at El Toro Animal Hospital with Dr. Scott Welby.
Yeah, Dad.
Yes, yay, Dad. And he and I worked together for 34 years before I retired from private practice. I'm still working full-time at UC Irvine, and I am very blessed that I was given this opportunity. And this opportunity was given to me by Dr. Welby, because at that time, he was working as a veterinary consult. And he had told me that there was a job opening. And I was like, this is not a field I want to go to. I have no interest in that. But I looked at it and I really thought about it. And I started to think I can make a difference. And so I went ahead and applied. It was one of the scariest interviews I've ever been in my life. There were 6 people in this round table. And as you walk in, they're all like looking at you like you were, I don't know, but some of the questions were very, very tough. They asked me like morals, ethics, things like that. And I was kind of like, oh, this is not going to be good. But it ended up working out very, very well. And I have been so happy in this career. There are obviously things that I would like to change, but I'll be honest, it has been such an eye-opening experience. I get to see research on the front line. I get to see different types of studies. We do a lot of Alzheimer's work right now. That's a huge thing right now. We do a lot of pancreatic isolate procedures, which is trying to help diabetic patients. We have Huntington's disease projects. Obviously, with the big COVID thing, once everything went into shutdown, basically our research basically shut down almost, to the point where the only things that they were authorizing researchers to do was COVID studies. But it really kind of made you focus. And we obviously were really scared at that time because obviously, oh, you're working with COVID, this is going to be scary. But so much of it was on the cell line that we didn't necessarily have to be like a part of that. I mean, the only place that we actually had live COVID was in our ABSL3, which is basically one of the highest. You go in there and you basically have the bunny suits on, you have the breathers, and you have to, it's a big thing, but almost nobody goes in there. So it's a fantastic thing. But it's just amazing the different types of research that actually go on that really help benefit not just people, but it also benefits animals. And I don't think a lot of people understand that or realize that that so many of these procedures that go on do inevitably help animals. CAT scans, blood transfusions, organ transplants, disease studies, different types of virus studies. We do a lot of viral work at UC Irvine. So there's all these things do benefit in the long run. And it's just a fantastic opportunity. Next slide.
Oh, sorry, wrong.
That's, yeah.
There we go.
Yay, so we got the introduction and the next one.
Oh, sorry.
Laboratory animal. This is basically taken from the ALAS Foundation. And what ALAS Foundation is, it's the American Association of Laboratory Animal Sciences. And the reason I wanted to kind of get this information out is to have people realize how much regulation is actually involved in animal research. I think a lot of people think that just, oh, we're just going to take an animal from the local pound or something like that and do procedures on it. That's not how it is at all. Basically, it's an area of biomedical research that specializes in the care and the study of animals used in medical research, testing, teaching. Animals are absolutely critical to animal research, or to any research actually. And researchers have to use animals and learn about these conditions, about how it affects system work in the animals. And it's fascinating to get to see when you're on one end of it and you get to actually see it come to fruition at the other end. Medical scientists and researchers, they continue to keep trying to reduce the numbers. This is what I was saying earlier as far as the 3 R's. We push this with researchers that they have to do reduction, refinement, and replacement. So reduction is you reduce the amount of animals that you use. Refinement is you refine your techniques so that you can basically get it down to the lowest part of an animal that you can use. And that's why so many cell work, like stem cells, that's a huge thing. But you're only working with the cells at that point, which is phenomenal. And then replacement is we do try to have people replace the different species. Like if you can bring it down to either like a cell level or a mouse level or rodent level, we do try to have them do that. And just from when I started in this procedure or this field, it has reduced tremendously. So much of our work basically works with mice. And we have a lot of mice and do a lot of cell work. I mean, we have right now 11 different vivariums, and most of them are pretty much at capacity as far as mouse work right now. We just, like I said, started ramping up to tier 3 after COVID. So we've expanded our research a lot from this whole shutdown. But the work is highly regulated. We'll go to the next slide. That should tell more.
Okay.
Oh, this one goes through. Okay, this is basically who does it. A lot of times we do have medical doctors, human doctors. We have veterinarians that do research. We have computer scientists, engineers. We have animal care technicians, research technicians. They all are a part of the team, and they all potentially can do the biomedical research. We have some of our staff on EULAR. We have kind of 2 different brackets. We have the veterinary technicians, then we have the animal technicians. And the animal technicians are responsible for doing the daily care of the animals, the cleaning, the feeding, things like that. We do train them to also do other things to assist in the research, things like doing identification, doing tattooing, doing potentially oral gavage procedures. With the veterinary staff, we also do some of the research. The problem that we have as far as the veterinary technicians is because we're spending so much time doing the actual nursing care for all the animals that we don't have a lot of time to do specific projects. But we do surgical assistance, we do anesthesia, we do training. We will occasionally, as I said, if we have time and the project is kind of small, we can do we'll do a series of IV tail injections for people. We can do also oral gavage, IP injections, all sorts of different things to assist the researchers. And we do this for a number of reasons. One, because we want to make certain that it's done properly. We want to make sure that it's done with the utmost care, because many people that do come into biomedical research and want to do a project may not have experience doing tail vein injections on mice, but they still want to see their project come to fruition. So they ask for assistance, and we will either train them how to do it to make sure it's done properly, or we can oftentimes assist them as well. So it's a variety of different people that are actually performing the biomedical research. Okay, and then to the next slide.
All right.
Okay, there's a number of different careers within laboratory animal sciences or biomedical research. You can do computer programming. We have people that are doing just computer programming for specific studies where that's all they do. They want to be kind of disassociated with it. That's fine. They can do that. We do have, obviously veterinarians are here. We have medical doctors with human patients. The skills for grant applications, like we were mentioning earlier, we were discussing IACUC, which is the Institute of Animal Care and Use Staff. And every animal research program here must have one of those. You can do engineering. There's just a whole lot of stuff. You can be a research scientist. You can be on the veterinary field. It just depends on what your interest in the field is of science, but it can be adapted and kind of be shifted depending on what, like I said, your interests are. Down one more slide.
All right, let me get that. All right.
So we should be at.
Mine says career positives.
Okay. I think I skipped one. Hold on one sec. There we go. Okay. So I was trying to focus on things that are really positive about actually considering this field of work. One of them is financial security. For me, that was one of the biggest things. I wanted to make sure that I had a stable income that was not going to go away just anytime. One really nice thing about a university situation, which I'm in, is that most of them are career salaries. You do have some things that they call projects on soft money. And those things I would kind of stay away from because those are usually grant funded. And if they don't get their grant funded, then you unfortunately do not have a job. So in a situation like this, as a veterinary technician or RVT, it's a great place for having financial security. The salary is much better than normal small practices. Not saying always, but there is much more of a, how should I say, you have room to grow. So for the university situation, we have what they call STEP program. We have, in my department, we have, like I was saying, the animal technicians, then we also have the veterinary technicians. There's 3 levels of veterinary technicians. You can have an AHT1, AHT2, and an AHT3. I am at AHT3. And at that level, you're mostly maxed out, but you do have additional steps within that where you can move up and increase your salary. Much of that depends on how many years you're there, and that adds steps to your salary. The other really wonderful thing about potentially a career in lab animal sciences is you have more of a controlled schedule. You don't normally have emergency situations. I mean, you do, because anytime you work with animals, there's a potential, but it's much, you don't have a hit by car coming in at 6 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
You have the ability to manipulate your schedule much more so that, for example, what we normally do, start out the day, come in, you basically get your list of cases. I divvy them up to the different technicians, and then basically we kind of triage everything else throughout the day. We have to triage things by, obviously, what is the worst case scenario one, and then also we also have to consider the room levels, because we have different, like we have A status, B status, C status, D status. And once you go into, you go with the A status first, B status second, C, and then D. If you've been into anything other than a status room, you can't go back into an A status room without showering again. So we have to kind of triage all that stuff. And we try to have one person stay A for as long as possible during the day. Doesn't always work. So we always have to be prepared to shower. But for the most part, as I said, you can control your day and you control your schedule. We just don't know how many cases you're going to come in a day. Depending on the type of research facility you're in, some of the things, at least in the university situation, most of the time you get paid vacation. You have medical benefits. You have dental, vision, and what they consider a livable wage. In my situation, I was very, very lucky. And I also have a pension, which is almost unheard of.
Yeah, they don't do those anymore in California.
No. They do still have a minor pension.
Mhm.
It's not nearly as advantageous as the one I have, but most of the career positions do still have some sort of pension, which is phenomenal for the future.
Yeah.
So those are definitely things. I mean, we just recently had somebody that was in small animal practice for 20 years that just started as an animal technician, coming in and just changing cages because she has a family. She wanted to have more of a set schedule. And at the same time, she said, I need benefits.
Mm.
She didn't get enough benefits to support her family. So that's why she looked into this. And she's very, very good. I feel we want her to move up, but at the time, we don't have any positions open. But still, for the future, it's a definite, would be great to have her on board because she's very, very. The field, as I said, there's always going to be negatives and everything, but for the most part, I do try to concentrate on the positives. And I honestly do feel that this field does allow for a lot of advantages.
Mhm.
So the next slide.
Right. Hey, pull your phone down just a smidgen.
Oh,
just a little.
how's
There you
that?
go. That's much better.
I wonder if it was kind of, I think it slid a little.
Yeah, I think so.
Still better?
Yeah, perfect.
Fantastic. We were discussing this a little bit earlier, but one of the things that is part of our job is to make sure that we're protecting the animals. The animals are in our care. We are their voice. And so we have to make sure that in some of the situations when you're working with the researchers, they may have like a very narrow focus and they just want to get their research done. This is how they want to do it. And they're not necessarily thinking about all the things that will affect that animal. And that's why we have to be there to watch and to make sure that people follow all the principles and things that are set up with the different regulatory agencies. And we have USDA, we have National ALAS, we have OSHA, we have, I mean, tons of different regulatory agencies we have to deal with. And they're all set up, I mean, animal welfare, all set up to protect those animals. And for part of our job is to make sure that we know the protocols, we see what they're supposed to be doing, we ensure that they're provided proper analgesia, nobody suffers, there's humane endpoints. All these things are part of our job. So we make sure that those animals who don't have a voice actually do by having us working there. And the next slide.
Okay.
We kind of already did that one.
Okay, let me know if you can skip this one. The one I'm on says, are you an RVT? If not, do you feel an RVT would be able to perform your particular job adequately?
Okay, this should be, because that's one of the specific questions that you asked.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I am not an RVT. I made a decision early in my career and things were much, much different at that point. The reason I chose not to at that point is because I don't think people embraced what an RVT does and how important they are. It was very old school back when I started.
Yeah.
And one of the things, unfortunately, that people would always tell you, and unfortunately I felt it was true, if you did have an RVT at that time, you oftentimes priced yourself out of a lot of jobs, which is horribly unfair because you're paying somebody to have that skill set. And unfortunately back then, it was felt it was important, but they thought, I can just hire somebody and I can train them personally, and then I don't have to pay them that salary.
Yeah.
Luckily, things have changed and people really do view being an RVT as something that is important, and they will pay them the salary that they deserve. As far as specifically in biomedical research or lab animal sciences, I think it would be fantastic to have an RVT. They have a set of skills that is extremely important to be very useful within the research purposes for things like we were saying, for things like oversight. They know surgical procedures, they know how to run anesthesia, they know how to make sure that everything's done properly. They can be a surgical assistant to the researcher, nursing care, and different types of research assistants where you can do, like I said, anesthesia or surgery for them, administration of specialized agents. The skill sets that a trained RVT has could be so valuable in this field.
Mm-hmm.
And the next slide. Okay, the next slide says, how did I get in the field? Well, you and I talked before the meeting.
Yeah.
It was a complete accident. It was just, I was working for your dad, and he, as I said, was a consulting vet at UC Irvine at the time. They had undergone a little bit of a shakeup as far as personnel, and they were trying to create, they actually opened up 3 positions when I actually applied, and it was to replace basically 1 veterinarian and 1 technician that had been there, and they felt they needed more. So as I said, with the encouragement of Dr. Weldy, I said, you know what, I'm really going to look at this. And I did. And I was extremely happy that I applied. Like I said, there's so many positive things, but it was just pure accident that I ended up in this field, because I honestly didn't think that laboratory animal medicine was for me. I just didn't, because I heard all the horror stories and everything that people thought that it was.
All those movie tropes.
Absolutely. And it said, and there was such horrible pictures that still go out to this day that were taken years and years and years ago, before there were so many regulations that had been created to protect the animals. Mm-hmm. So it's just disheartening when you still see this stuff go around, and don't appreciate what you actually do and what this does for the animals. Okay, next slide. Oh, this is basically one of the options, and this kind of explains a little bit about different types of certification within laboratory animal medicine. There's 3 different levels at this moment, as far as animal technicians. One of them is ALAT, and that is the assistant laboratory animal technician. The second step is a laboratory animal technician, and the third step is laboratory animal technologist, which is what I have. You normally work through these series of classes, courses, and then you have to take a very specialized test at the end of each one. And the first one is usually after you've been in the field for about a year. And then the second one is 2 years. And then I think the third one, gosh, it's been so long now, I want to say it's almost 5 years you have to be in the field. Okay. Take that. But it's a great way to not only learn, but to also, like we were talking about the whole RVT thing, to show your proficiency and to say, these are the skill sets that I have. And anybody that goes to either a different institution and sees that you have this certification, they know, okay, you have these basic skill levels, which we know that you can provide for this particular job. And next slide. Oh, this was a fun one. What types of setbacks did you find that you were facing? The biggest setback that I had when I first started at the university was, remember I told you there was a little bit of a shakeup that had occurred, and there were a lot of people that didn't necessarily want positive change.
Oh dear.
Things, yeah, old school. And even though we didn't come in and like do ball busting or anything like that, we just had things that we were told, these are things that you have to focus on. You make sure that the animals are taken care of. This is your job. You make sure that this, and this done. And unfortunately, there were a few staff members that did things like to retaliate. So we had a situation for quite a while where we walk in and we would have, like, seriously, we would have up to like 50 animal health reports that were just sitting there, and they would all say the same thing: unthrifty, 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 unthrifty. And you're just, come on, guys. They're just doing this just to try to get under our skin. So we would just take each one and go ahead and just take care of it. And we actually had one group, we used to try to contact the researchers when we were out in the vivarium setting. And there was a telephone out in one of the buildings in the vivarium, and that's where we do our phone calls. Mm-hmm. Well, they didn't like that. They wanted us to have to go to them, and they had like a staff lounge area where they had a telephone. and they wanted to kind of create and they'd be in there, and they would have kind of a hostile work environment when you'd have to walk. And so they made it really uncomfortable. But that's, I mean, that was one of the hardest things to get through. But I'll be honest, it took a long time to kind of change minds. But I honestly think that we did, but we just had to show that we're not coming in there just to, you know, ball bust and get things out and change everything. It was that we honestly wanted to do a good job. And by slowly working with them, we had tremendous support from the Office of Research. They really did help a lot.
Awesome.
And it really did just make things so much better. Okay, let's see, next slide. So do you have what education?
I earned it when my next slide is overcoming failures.
Yeah, that's kind of what we were just talking about as far as the support that we had. And many of the people that I met either in the Office of Research or the technicians that I worked with, we are still very dear friends to this day, just because we did all have that struggle to come in and make positive changes and deal with many of the previous attitudes that we had. So that was probably the biggest thing as far as overcoming failures. And because I did look at it as a failure. I mean, I wanted to come in there and do a really good job, and I didn't feel like
they were inhibiting you.
Yeah, it was very frustrating.
Ugh.
But that's done and over with, and things are actually really good right now.
Good.
Yeah. Well, I think those are the only slides I had.
Let me see. Yep, that's the last that I've got.
Okay, fantastic. Now, do you want to discuss anything else?
Yeah, so this is normally when I would usually open it up to a Q&A.
Right.
So it'll just be you and I just chit-chatting. So we can just discuss more things. So I know, like, from other veterinarians and stuff, that there's like you had said, there's still that really, you know, unsavory stigma that the animal testing labs are just these horrible places and stuff.
Yep.
And especially with a lot of celebrities.
Yes.
Ricky Gervais is a big proponent of anti-animal testing labs and stuff. But his focus mostly on the UK. Do you know anything about the UK animal testing lab situation versus over here?
Actually, UK is considered, even, I know it sounds terrible, but they're more of the forefront. They're out there even before the United States is.
So they're essentially the more strict than we are?
Yeah. Yes.
Ah.
I mean, I don't want to say strict, but they just have, they tend to make progress before we do.
They do that with a lot of different things. And,
yep.
And I didn't know, like, because again, celebrities, they get the attention. And with Ricky Gervais, like, I appreciate his desire to save and help these animals and stuff. And it was a beagle lab that he was making a lot of noise about. I don't know what the testing was. I didn't look too much into it, but he was really proud and triumphant that he was able to shut down a beagle lab. And so I didn't know, like, because of all the ruckus that was going on, if their laws and testing procedures were less than ours, and if that's why, or if they were more and stuff. So I didn't know if you had any input.
It tends to be more, I think. I mean, to be honest, because they do tend to be, like I said, more at the forefront of doing, like, reduction, refinement, replacement. Definitely into creating a better environment for the animals. I mean, we're all learning as far as what type of social behaviors and trying to all adapt, you know, caging facilities to work with the research. But that has really gotten so much better, I would say, in the last 10 years, as far as trying to be able to provide environmental enrichment. And it's getting better and better and better. But the UK was doing this before we were.
Nice.
So it's, like I said, when you have that celebrity up there,
they're going to get the attention.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
exactly.
Yeah. Speaking of enrichment, What do you guys do for that? Because again, even my knowledge, like I know the labs treat animals much, much better than the movies, but in my head, I still envision the rows of like the little plastic mouse cages on those big metal racks and stuff. And even though in my head they're clean and treated humanely, that's my vision.
Right.
What is the housing situation like for your guys' labs?
Right. Well, it depends on species specific, but for our animals, they are mice, and they are provided an environment. Basically, each cage is its own environment,
Mm-hmm.
and on a air stream where they get positive air that comes in constantly to help reduce the ammonia smells from the urine and things like that. We can't control humidity as much in the facilities, but within that cage, it's like a little microenvironment. And
Nice.
they are provided nesting material because they do tend to have nesting behaviors. Depending on the situation, they have these little things called iso huts, where they're kind of like the same material as like an egg carton, but they
Okay.
have a hole in the center of it, and it's kind of like a little teepee shape. And they can go in and they can, like do nesting in there, or they'll eventually like take that little nest thing apart. We do provide, sometimes they have like little tubes that we can put in there that give them some more space. We also have shelving areas in some of the cages where they can actually get up and nest into the shelving. Um, so that's mostly for the mice. The rats, we have different types of bedding materials that we use. They tend to like this kind of a brown paper bag type crinkle paper. They
Hmm.
really like root in that, and they make their nest material in there. They play in there. So we have that for them. For other species, like we have xenopus,
A
we have
xenopus. What's a xenopus?
their African clawed frog.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, silly looking things, but they are adorable. But we have either like PVC piping that we can put in, so it gives them like an area that they can kind of hide into, because they're a little bit shy and they
Yeah.
don't have this like bright, clean cage.
Mhm.
Or we can put lily pads on the top, so they have a little bit something to go underneath. So we do try to make sure that we do provide as much different stuff as we can. For like, if we have rabbits, we'll do them different types of foraging stuff. We'll do different types of toys and things that they can manipulate in the cage. So we do try to make sure that each species has their own individual type of enrichment that we can provide for them.
Awesome. Very cool. Now that was one of the things we went over in my classes was environmental enrichment and how it can
Yep.
be beneficial to all animals. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm always curious about what people do.
Oh yeah, we just started a committee actually for that. Is their sole purpose, is to find different unique ways to provide enrichment for the animals at the university.
Oh,
Yeah, so
be
it's
a
really good.
technician for that?
Yes.
Ooh, oh, so there's
Mhm.
another thing that I can
Yep.
throw onto the list of careers.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's so cool. Do you guys still get like the protesters and stuff who just don't understand it?
We haven't as much, I would say, within the last 10 years,
Oh,
just
that.
because things have moved so much to the cell level
Mhm.
that it's not, well, especially our university, it's not as much in the, where the protesters are usually is where you have higher species,
Mhm.
things like that that can be kind of sensitive. We obviously have to provide information for like the Freedom of Information Act. If people ask different about our protocols, about what animals we have, we do provide that willingly. I
Yeah.
mean, we have to obviously protect and take names out, but other than that, I mean, we do provide that all this information for them so they have
Yeah.
it. But yeah, we have not had, like, as in the last 10 years, we really haven't had anything.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes, it's really nice.
Yeah. So you have all of these laws and regulations that you have to follow and stuff. Do
Mhm.
you have anyone that comes and like does inspections?
Oh yeah, we have a bunch of different groups that come and inspect.
What's
USDA
that all like?
USDA comes out at minimum twice a year
Ah,
for their inspections. We do also have um, one of our big, huge oversight committees, which basically says that your facility is approved to do animal research or research at a certain level.
mhm.
They come out every 3 years and they look at everything. They look at protocols. They look at every single room in the vivarium. They look at all the different labs. They check your controlled substances. They check your drug inventory. They make sure that if you say you're going to have this stuff on your protocol, you have all these things there. And as I said, they look at every little thing that's in your facility to check to see if things are within date, to check if there's any like blubs in paint. If you have any chip paint, they will document it all. And they're there for like 3 days of intensive inspection. And we're just getting ready to do ours in July, which I'm so excited about. We normally don't, I mean, it's not something you worry about. It's just, it's always depending on the inspector. Sometimes they'll have a huge focus on one thing. We had an inspector 2 site visits ago that was very focused on single housed mice, which I thought was fantastic. People didn't used to really like be concerned about that, but because they are such social animals, they wanted to make sure there was a reason why, and a very good reason why these animals were singly housed.
Yeah.
And the animals that were singly housed had either been like a very aggressive mouse that cannot be with another mouse, or else they will have issues.
They don't play well with others.
No, they do not. No, but we ended up trying to mark the cages as to why they're single housed. So that made them feel like, okay, you are addressing the issue. There is a specific reason why.
Yeah.
But it just depends on each person's focus. You just never know what's going to show up.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And if they find something that is not up to par with them, what happens? Because I know with, at least with AZA, which is definitely not the same kind of thing, that's more of a title. They give the zoos like a few weeks to try and resolve it to keep the AZA title. Do they do that same thing with you guys?
Absolutely. We'll lose accreditation.
If you can't, what happens?
If you can't, then you explain why. And you have to have a really good explanation as to why. But all this stuff has to be, because what they do at the end of their site visit, they give you basically an exit interview, and then they have like a formal list of things that they found, either deficiencies or things that they would like to change or that they would like to have addressed. And so once you do that, then you have to go through and literally remark on every single thing. You send it back to them, and they will either say, okay, I agree with that, or no, I don't, you need to change it.
Okay.
So it just depends, but that's our big inspection that we get. But as I said, we also have the IACUC also comes out, I think it's twice a year, and they do inspections as well. So there are constant inspections going on to ensure that everybody's on the up and up and doing everything properly.
Yeah. Very cool. Hey, made it big. I was like, oh wait, we don't need the presentation anymore. Very cool. I'm trying to think of some more questions I can ask you, but it's honestly, you've nailed everything I had, like with all of the different regulations and laws, and I'm just so glad you were able to break down that stereotyping of the movie tropes of the testing labs just being this horrible place where they're doing weird, inhumane experiments on animals. And
exactly, and it's not like that. And it
no.
just, I mean, I would be mortified if I felt that something like that had happened and we missed that. I mean, because that's why we're there, is to make sure that this doesn't happen. And I really don't think that people are doing it like people say, oh, these crazy scientists are out there doing all this stuff just to be mean. And no, it's not like that at all. It's just like we were talking earlier about they get a narrow focus and just kind of think of this is just a robot, but it's not. And so you have to educate them, and you have to say, no, just because you think this and this is going to work, it may not. And you need to do this and this to make sure that this animal is safe and protected.
Yeah.
And once they can kind of get out of that tunnel vision, then they're much more going, oh, this makes sense, because if I have a better quality animal and a happier animal, then my work is going to be better.
I read a research paper on something like that, where they actually proved that with good enrichment, a good environment, and taking care of the animal's health and well-being, not only physically but psychologically, and doing the 5 freedoms, freedom from fear, hunger, stress, freedom to express itself, and all of that, that the experiments that these researchers were doing, like the researchers were annoyed because it was extra steps that they had to go through, but it was yielding higher results, more accurate results. And it was the animal caretakers that were just like, no, we're going to do this the proper way. And all of a sudden the researchers just like, oh, like this is this is better. And
Yes,
it was funny because it was the animal people were just like, okay, we know we're being a pain, but we don't care about, we couldn't give all about your research. Our
exactly.
focus, like what you were saying, is the animals. And it ended up serving the best of both worlds. It was a win-win in the end. And I wish I had the name of that paper. I'll
Well,
have to
that's
like,
what it
post
should
it
be.
or something.
That is the whole point. If you have the best situation possible for the animal, you're going to get that better result. And
Yeah.
that's the
The
whole reason.
accuracy of it was through the roof. And
Yeah.
when the
And you
animal
use
acts
variables.
naturally, you're going to get a natural result.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, and I read that and I was just like, these silly researchers, what are they thinking? Of course it's going to be better.
Yes, yeah, it absolutely is.
Yeah. Oh shoot, I was gonna say something before that and I like had like a twirl moment.
It's okay. Also, if you want, I mean, if there's other questions that you come up with later, don't hesitate to let me know.
Oh no, I won't.
Are you sure?
I got your number, I got your email. I know how to find
Okay.
you.
Okay.
But no, oh shoot, what was I gonna say? Nuts. Oh, I hate that.
I did have, so,
Oh man, I was up till like 4 a.m. last night finishing my final for my last thing.
oh
So
my,
my brain's a little slow.
oh, I totally understand. I do not find it at all.
Yeah,
Ugh.
but got it all turned in. I'm good. And I had
Yay.
set my alarm for a thing, and I was just like, okay, time to talk to Annie.
Oh, this is good. This is a really good conversation. I think it was
Yeah,
good.
no, I was very happy with it. You used to do, Dad told me you used to do research with cancer or like in a cancer lab.
There's actually a lot of research going on. There's different types of breast cancer studies. We have people that we won't talk about that one. Not because it's bad, but because
No, and I know some of this research you're not allowed to divulge, obviously.
well, no, it's just a type of cancer that could trigger a negative effect. I know that sounds terrible.
No, that's okay.
We do have a glioma study.
Oh,
Yeah. And as I said, we have a lot of different cancer studies going. But yeah.
like glioblastoma type study.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay, but that's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm all like, I know I'm very open with my students, and for anyone who doesn't realize, my mom passed away from glioblastoma. And so honestly, I'm excited that you're doing a study on that, because I would hate for anyone else to go through it. So I'm like, wow, that's incredible. It's a type of brain cancer.
Yep. And the thing is that with these cancer studies, they are, and they already have created so much better treatments for cancer patients.
Wow.
And and it's fascinating to see. It really is.
Have
And
you
there are
to be involved with any of the actual techniques, or have you mostly just been through the caretaking stuff?
mostly caretaking, nursing, and following guidelines.
Okay.
Because if it's an injected, say, tumor, there are guidelines of how large it's able to be. It cannot be ulcerated in any shape or form. We have to make sure like motility is not an issue. We have to make sure that they're monitoring constantly. We're monitoring constantly. So yeah, I mean, most of it's that I try to stay away from the research part of it as much as I can, just because I don't say to be manipulated. I don't want to be seen as favoring one project over another.
Okay.
So I try to stay very generic and very
unbiased.
Yes.
Okay. Very cool.
Interest wise, there's a lot of course, you're like, oh, let's hear about this study. Oh,
yeah.
This study. But I do try to
do like the water cooler talk about it.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. That's kind of cool though. You can still get your fix and everything.
Yep.
So, and here I am getting my fix of all research. Honestly, while I was trying to figure out what to do before I got hired at OCVS, I was looking into schools and stuff. Like when I was living in Alabama, their laboratory, animal lab had a job opening, and I applied for that because I knew you and how what you had told me about it, and so I applied there. They didn't even call me though.
Well,
So meh, but I am significantly more happy here. Like
but
like Annie, I wake up every day excited to go to work, and they actually have to tell me to stop working.
see,
Phil's yelled
that's
at me a few
important.
times.
You do have to have balance, but
Yeah,
it was awesome that you found something that you love to do
yeah,
and you're good at.
yeah,
That just, and if you can wake up, like you said, every day and say, I want to go to work.
yeah, yeah. No, and that's why I'm real excited that I'm getting all of these people in different fields to come talk, because I've come across so many students who aren't even technicians yet, and they're already getting burnout, and I'm just like, what is happening? This
Yeah.
you can't do that.
No.
They have no idea that there's so many other avenues. And then I was like, well, what about working for the UCs at the animal labs? And they were just like, oh,
Yeah.
my girls.
Like, no, I can't. No. Yeah.
And I was just like, you have no idea. So I just tell them what I know. And I was just like, I got to get Annie in here to talk to them. And so this is a great way. I could just show them this lecture or
That's
this little talk. I'm so excited that you made time to talk to me.
well, and I hope it helps. I really do. I really hope people can look at it and eyes wide open,
Yeah.
not to just be tunnel vision.
No,
And
definitely.
really
Yeah. I mean, I knew what you did, and that it wasn't bad, but even I learned more in talking to you. And so I
good.
thank you for just teaching me.
Well, you know what? Did you also know that Nina Zimmerman
Yeah.
is working for Ayacook?
She works for
And
Ayacook
she works for Ayacook, but at Notre Dame.
now. Is she still doing that?
She's still doing it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Because last I heard, she was so upset that she wasn't using her degree. She was working
Yep.
at like a car rental place, and she was so
Yep.
frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
That is awesome.
When I heard she got it, I went, oh my gosh. And this is like completely the administrative side of it, but it's still part of the regulatory agency.
Dude, yeah.
And it was just like, I'm like, Nina, that is so awesome. So yeah, she's in Indiana. She's loving it.
Gosh, I'm gonna have to email her and just be like, Annie told me you work for Ayacook.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Go to the website. You can see her picture.
No, really?
Yep.
Oh
Yep.
my gosh. And I haven't seen
Notre
Sherry.
Dame, Ayacook, and she'll show up.
Oh my gosh. I haven't seen Sherry in years, or
I
not,
know.
well, not since I got back. I keep going to that. Well, since I don't live with my brother anymore, I don't go to the Albertsons where she works. And so oh man, I'm gonna have to go and hunt her down and just be like, Nina, dude, I might have to get a hold of her and have her do a little lecture.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's not an RVT though. Is she?
No.
RVT.
No.
But
not unless something changed, but
no,
but this is another career path.
it is
not in all medicine, but
no,
just
you can go in and work for Ayacook and make sure people in the labs are following the rules and not.
Yep.
Ayacook does more than just the animal labs though, right?
Well, it's basically any research on campus.
That's what it is.
Right. Any
Okay.
animal, but they do also have IRB, which is another form with more of the human studies and things. But
Okay. Yes. Oh, very cool.
Small world.
Yeah. All right. Before we log off, I got a request for you. Can you put Mowgli up onto the screen? Is that possible?
Maybe.
Is he hiding?
He's under the table.
Oh, it's okay if he's under the table. I just haven't seen Mogs in ages.
I know it's been so long.
The old man.
I know. Don't tell him, but he's 15 and a half.
No.
Mm-hmm.
So he turns 11 this month.
Oh gosh.
Mowgli, come here. Come here.
Mowgli, come here. Oh my goodness.
Here to Soph.
Oh, hi, Soph. How are you, Soph?
Our 5-tooth wonder. She got her tongue sticking out now.
Yep. Mowgli has the same thing. He lost 22 teeth.
Oh no.
I know. I was like, he's not being cooperative.
That's okay. I'll show you mine.
Yes.
This
I'm glad
one's
you
mine.
did. Oh, how's he doing?
He cute, he sweet, he dumb.
It's okay. He's so adorable.
He's a cute boy.
And I'm glad they get along. I know
They get along well. Sophie was like not having any of his young puppy when he first came in, and you could tell she was just like, this damn young dog.
Yeah.
But now like they play a little bit. She'll start trying to zoom around the house, and he likes to try to wrestle, and she tries so hard to like jump up. and she actually was just retired as a teaching dog. She no longer is going to teach students because she's got some spondylosis and osteoarthritis in her shoulders and in her lower back. So she'll go and she'll just supervise my classes now.
There you go.
She's on gabapentin and she feels great.
That's great. So, she's feeling funky for a little while.
Yeah, she's been on it for about a week and a half, and she feels like a puppy again. Like I came home from work and she tried to jump up on me.
Yeah.
And I was just like, and all of a sudden she realized, she's like, oh no, wait, I can't do that.
Nope, I want it, but nope, not gonna happen.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. But she and Charlie will zoom around, but for a while she'd just be like,
yeah, as you do when you don't feel real good. You're just like, no, wait for me.
Yeah, and it was just funny. I was just like, you're gonna gum them to death? Like what's happening here?
Oh goodness.
Silly.
I really appreciate you doing this, Jenny, really helping things out.
Oh dude, I'm loving this, and I've got so many plans for the school. Like one of my, so aside from this little lecture series, eventually once I finish my master's, this is my next little project I want to do. I want to develop an exotic veterinary technician certification program.
That would be fantastic.
So that's my next step. And everyone's like, there's already a specialty you can get. I'm like, no, I don't want people to specialize, because you already have to be an RVT. I want to do a training thing so you know how to handle them, you know how to monitor them under anesthesia. And so the only requirements in order to do that is you have to have gotten at least gone through a formal education program. So I don't have to reteach you anesthesia. I don't have to do all that. You already know how to do anesthesia. Now we're going to learn anesthesia on birds, reptiles, amphibians, fish.
Which is, I mean, that is so lacking these days. I mean, really, but no, that's a fantastic idea.
So that's my next plan.
Fantastic.
That's honestly going to be in a year, once, because my degree, I finish it in April of next year.
No, but the time frame, it's a good time.
So I've got some exotic animal textbooks that I used my stimulus check to buy. So I'm like, okay, I'm all excited. And so I'm going to do that. And Lauren Eckwall works for us now. Yeah, she got hired part-time, and we're going to eventually work her up to full-time. But she is co-teaching with me in one of my classes. She's kind of assistant teaching, but we're launching an online platform for studying for the VTNE. And that launches next week, I believe. And she is helping us put together the last lectures and quizzes and flashcards. And she's going to do some of the online lectures for that. And
that is great.
Yeah, and she's so happy because she's burnt out on practice in emergency medicine too. So she's real happy. And we were so close to moving into a Corona place, but it fell through the cracks again. And so we're just like, so now we're trying to because we're trying to open up a second location to expand. And so now we're back at square one. This is the third place that fell through, because we first were going to get one right off of Aspen, down by my mom's house. And then the surgical group down in San Juan was going to let us do it. And then they ghosted us. And so that's how we lost the Aspen one. And then this one, we had all the contracts signed. We actually were going to start breaking ground to remodel it. And then the emergency clinic said, actually, can we cancel on you because we want to take that space and expand? And we were just like, guys, you're killing us. We already had everything signed. Like, legally speaking, we don't have to, but we were just like, it's not worth fighting over. And so we're like, okay, fine.
Like, all right, we'll just find someplace else.
Yeah. I would love to do like more South Orange County, but we just can't afford it yet. We're not big enough yet.
Right. But you'll get there.
Yep. Yep.
Mhm.
So we're still looking to Corona because we got one of my students drives in from like Morongo Casino area. And I'm
Wow.
like, I looked around, I was like, girl, are you serious? That's like a 2-hour drive.
Mhm.
And so I was just like, we got to get like a Corona location. A bunch of our students come from over there, Riverside and stuff. So I'm like,
Yeah, I was gonna say the
I don't
pricing
want to
was probably
drive. I don't want to drive to Corona, but
no, but
yeah. And then we want to go up to like Long Beach, LA, and I really would love to do San Diego area.
mhm.
But I mean, I
So,
love Orange County. I mean, we tried real hard to get a spot in Dad's center, but
right,
the location was just a little bit too small for what we wanted.
exactly. Would have been convenient.
It would have been nice. Dad even said, like, we'll be your teaching hospital. And Phil and Anthony were just like, oh, hell's yes. But the spot that they had available was just, it was too narrow and it
Right.
wasn't going to be big enough for a school. So they were just like, nah, it's not going to work. But they were really sad. They were just like, oh, dude. So I'm like, hey, Dad, you want to build a second floor on
There you go.
your thing? Just build a second one up there. We can have a rooftop school.
That would be great.
That would be cool. I
That
have
would be
no idea if the building can support that, but hey.
No, but I think this is going to be good.
Oh yeah, I love it. And the guys are like, they want to expand and grow, which is what I like. I don't like being stagnant.
Nope. I agree 100%.
Yeah,
It's
so
boring.
yeah. And they don't tell me no, which is nice.
Extra benefit.
Yeah. And so I was just like it was great. Like Phil came in once and he was just like, do you have any ideas and plans? And I was just like, really? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, well, yeah. And so I told him this guest lecture series and then my exotic animal thing. And he goes, do it. And I was like, I can? He goes, yeah, those sound great. Those sound like awesome ideas. And I was just like, are you sure? Because I will.
Yeah, don't tangle the carrots.
Yeah. So he's
Yeah.
like, sure. And then like I told him like my ideas I have for Fido, like what I want to see it become and everything. And he was just like, those are good ideas. And so I'm like, yes, he likes my ideas. And so I'm like, oh, I love this because I'm so used to being shut down all the time and having like, crushed it
Thumbs on you.
like. So I'm like, they like my ideas. They ask for my input. I'm loving this. This is
That is wonderful.
I'm like, this is what a healthy healthy work relationship looks
It
like.
absolutely is.
Granted, when they're like, all right, time for your review. I still had like an anxiety thing in my thing because
It's hard not to.
oh my God. I'm so used to Dad being like, Jenny in my office. I'm like, or like in Alabama, anytime the doctors are like, we have to talk. And I'm like, oh, what did I do?
I'm just like, this is so not. I know I hate performance evaluations, even though okay, look, I did a good job. You can't think of anything I did wrong, but you still have that anxiety. You're just like, they know something. What happened? I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, I could probably push stop recording. Let me stop. Hang on.